Welcome in, Sneeples. We're going to be talking about Fab Math today, exactly what it is and how we can use it. We're going to be talking about Fab Math problems on the basic level, all the way up to the more advanced level. So, no matter what type of player you are, I'm sure there's something to learn here. And as a testament to myself, I can with 100% certainty say that Fab Math has improved my game. So I hope that it will improve yours. Let's go over some Fab Math problems.
All right, so let's talk about Fab Math in the basic form. In this scenario, we're going to be facing down a Command and Conquer. It is a 6 attack that on hit will destroy our arsenal. We do not have an arsenal, so we do not have to worry about it hitting. So it is just a 6 attack coming our way. In our hand, we have Cranial Crush, which is an 8 attack, 3 block, Clash of Might, 6 attack, 3 block, Boulder Drop, 5 attack, 3 block, and Choke Slam, 8 attack, 3 block. Okay, so in basic Fab Math terms, what we look to see is the number value. So right now we are currently becoming the target of a 6 attack. So as it sits, we are at a -6 value if we take this damage and don't present any damage on our turn. That is not going to happen. That would be absolutely bad. So we're going to instead choose to block. We can choose any of these cards. We'll just choose a random combination. We'll block with these 2 cards here. These might not be the best cards to block, but we're going to determine what is. But in this scenario, we are blocking the 6 because we do have 2 3 blocks here. If you are familiar with this card, there is an additional effect. We're going to ignore that one for this scenario, but we would have an additional effect going off there. And now, since we block 6, we can add 6 here, and now we have a value of 0, which is better than -6, but still not a great turn. So now we have to look at what, if we block with these 2, what are we going to do in our turn to attack and present damage back? Well, currently with this hand, we couldn't be able to pitch this card to play this card because this card does cost 4 and we only have 3 resources in our hand to play. So instead, we would have to look at our weapon, which does cost 3, so we could afford this weapon. So we could swing in with 4 on this weapon. If we do it in that way, we get to swing in for 4. We get to add 4. And now we have a value of 4 on this combination of cards. So if we block with these 2, pitch this one, and attack, that is a combination of 4. We also could have an arsenal. And that could help us get better numbers for the next turn. You know, if we're able to swing the Chokeslam next turn, then maybe we'll have a value of 8 on our next turn. This hammer does have a text that says if we have pitched 2 or more cards that cost 3 or greater, it gets +2. We do have that capability. If we decide to pitch our red card and then our blue card, so red first and then blue, we are overpaying for the hammer, but the hammer then is coming in for 6. We can add 2 more to the value, and that would be a 6 value turn, going blocking like this and pitching these 2. We do not have the arsenal, but we are presenting 6 damage. So that is the numbers we get there. And that is what you're doing when you're doing Fab Math. You're just looking at blocking and attacking numbers. You're looking at what combination of cards is going to give you the most value. So let's see if there is another value that we can grab out of here. We certainly could do something where like we block with Chokeslam and Boulder Drop and be able to come in with this Clash of Might, which again, that would be 6 value. So it would be about the same. What if we ran a scenario where we actually took a little bit of damage? So here we have Command and Conquer coming at us. So let's clear this, go to -6 here. What if we decide to take partial damage? So maybe we want to play out something that isn't the hammer or isn't Clash of Might. Well, looking at this hand, the only real option we have is to play Chokeslam, because we still couldn't afford Cranial Crush even if we kept our entire hand. So keeping our entire hand to just swinging with Chokeslam seems like it's a little bit overdoing it, because if we just took the 6 damage, kept our hand, came in with chokeslam, maybe like you know, pitching these 2 blues, or we can pitch a red, doesn't really matter. We are doing 8 damage, so we add the 8. And that turn has a value of 2. We do get an arsenal, but it only has a value of 2 damage for that turn. So that wouldn't be a very good turn to do. That's not a very good decision line, because in the decision line where we use 2 cards to block Command and Conquer, we got 6 points of value, where here we're only getting 2. Maybe we can block with 1 card. Let's see how that goes. So again, Command and Conquer coming at us for 6. We're at -6 currently. If we choose to only block with 1 card, let's say we just block with this 1 blue card here. Okay, so currently we are only blocking 3, so we can add 3. So we're at -3 right now. Then we can pitch these 2 cards here to pay for our chokeslam, which comes in for 8, which then we can add +8, and that's at 5. So in this example, this would be a less efficient turn. Now, there is text on this card that would have an on-hit ability. Perhaps that means a little bit more than coming in for 6 damage. Perhaps by presenting this card and forcing your opponent to block, it gives us a little extra value. That is where you as the card player are going to have to determine what is important, which gets better over time. But using Fab Math, you can just see the numbers and what combination of cards allows you to have the most efficient turn. All right, so that is our basic example. Let's get a little bit more complex. All right, this scenario is a little bit more complex, but hopefully we can keep it easy to understand. In this scenario, we are a different hero that is Icelander. We are able to play blue non-attack action cards from our arsenal as though they were instant. However, in our arsenal, we have a sink below, so we cannot use her ability. We are also at 13 health, and our opponent is at 11. And here in this scenario again, we are facing down a Command and Conquer, which, as you can recall, will destroy our arsenal if it hits, and cannot have a defense reaction be played to defend. So, therefore, we are looking at our sink below possibly being destroyed if Command and Conquer hits, and we can't even use our sink below against Command and Conquer, nor our D-React Fate Foreseen in hand. So now we have to figure out exactly what is the best line of play. The other cards in our hand is Wounded Bull, which gets a additional +1 if we are at less life. Currently we are not. We get Ice Bolt, which is a blue non-attack action card, so it could be played from the arsenal. And we get Brothers in Arms, which has a block value of 2. However, it could have an additional block value of +2 if we pay into it. Our equipments have it where it has a block value of 0, but it could get additional +2 if we pay into it, just like Brothers in Arms. We have 3 sets that allow us to do so. And we have a Spellfire Cloak that on our opponent's turn, which in this scenario, it is our opponent's turn, we can destroy this to gain 1 resource. Now, this might seem like a lot, and that's because it is. This is what is more deterministic of an actual Flesh and Blood game. In fact, this was a real example that happened in my Battle-Hardened experience in Battle-Hardened Portland. So take a moment to pause the video and work through exactly what would be the best line. Consider the equipment, the potential extra resource, the Icelander's ability, and how we could possibly use Ice Bolt for later turns. Not saying that's the right move, but consider it. And then consider if we want to keep the D-React in our arsenal, or if we want to take a bit of damage. Okay, now that you've gone through that, let's talk about what we are looking at and what could be the best plays. What I'm currently seeing as the best play is blocking with Ice Bolt, taking 3 damage, allowing us to go down to 10. We will unfortunately lose our sink below. As far as Fab Math goes, we are taking 6 damage, but we are adding 3 currently. All right, we are losing our sink below, and we go down to 10. So that is the last turn. Now on our turn, in order to make some of that value back and to have an arsenal, we will come in with Wounded Bull, pitching this blue here, which now attacks for 8 since we are 1 lower. So we will add 8 and we get a value of 5, plus we have an arsenal, a Fate for Seed. So in this scenario, we are presenting damage, we are maintaining an arsenal, and Drex in arsenal is a pretty good thing. That's why we had to sink below in the first place. And we still are at a fairly good life difference here. We're not super far below. We're still around the same life total, despite having losing our arsenal. To me, this is the best line, but let's talk about some of the other lines real quick to determine exactly why they might not have worked out the best. So going back to where we're just taking 6 and having to command conquer, there's a few other decisions we could make here. One is that we could choose to save our sink below and block with a Brothers in Arms and a piece of equipment, pitching the blue to pay for them both. This would block 6, but it would leave us with no attack. So we would be at a value of 0. And we'd lose a piece of our equipment that we could not get back. So this does not seem like the best line. What we could do, instead of pitching the blue here, we could decide to block for all 6. We get to keep our equipment, but still, again, we're not presenting any damage on the back end. One thing we could choose to do is block for 4, pitching this red here, taking 2, losing our arsenal, and then coming in on our next turn for 7. This would be 5 damage or 5 points of value all the same. So it'd be just like the other one. The only difference is that we have 1 more life, but 1 less card in arsenal. Because we're at the same life, this only came in for 7. It didn't come in for 8. So we're actually presenting 1 less damage as well. So therefore, even though the fab math shows a 5 being the same number as the original play where we had pitched and blocked here and arsenal this being at 10, this just has a arsenal for us and lets us come in for more damage. So this play just makes the most sense. I don't ever see it being the right play to try to save the arsenal here. I think in this scenario, because of the unfortunate fact that we have a D-React in our hand and we want to do something on our opponent's turn, prevents us from being able to play Wounded Bull. If we decided to pitch the Fate Foreseen to block with like a piece of equipment here, and then decide to lose our arsenal, going down to 9, we could still come in with Wounded Bull in this scenario, coming in for the 8. So this would be where, let's go, -6 plus 2 plus 8, which is 4. It's only a 4 value, but instead this time we get to put an ice boat in the arsenal. Now this could be good if they choose not to block. If they don't block, they go down to 3 damage. Then we have this ice bolt in our arsenal that we can play at instant speed because of Icelander's ability. However, we are facing against Ira. She does like to block quite a bit. So we can anticipate that even though this line does set up for a future kill, the safer line would be to set up for defensive and just wait for or a blue card to put into the arsenal. But again, this could be a decision based on the player and what you think that this game has been showing. If you have seen Ira barely block at all, maybe this would be the better play, even though the number is one less. All right, that is an intermediate example. Let's get to the advanced example. If you feel like I'm losing you, feel free to comment any sort of questions, or just rewatch the video and see if it makes more sense the second time around. Let's get into the more advanced one. Let's talk about a more advanced scenario now. We're going to be looking at more than just the cards in our hand, but we're also going to be thinking about our equipment, our hero's ability, our weapon, and something called tempo. Because sometimes it's not about numbers, sometimes it's about tempo. So let's go over this. In this scenario, we are playing Briar, Warden of Thorns. If you're not familiar with her, she has it that the first attack action card that deals damage, we create an embodiment of Earth token. And then the second time we play a non-attack action, so if we play 2 non-attack actions, we create an embodiment of lightning. Now, embodiment of lightning says when you play attack action, destroy this, the attack gets go again. So that is a pretty good thing to have. And then we also have the weapon Rosetta Thorn, which says whenever you attack with Rosetta Thorn, if you played an attack action card and a non-attack action card, it deals 2 arcane damage. So as long as we do attack and non-attack, we get 2 more damage with the Rosetta Thorn. We have Grass of the Arknight, which allows us to pay 2 to create a rune chant. We have Fiend Little Spring Tunic, but it is only on 2, so we will not be able to use it. We have Snapdragon Scalers, which allows us as an attack reaction to destroy it and give an attack action card that costs 1 or less go again. And then we have Crown of Dichotomy, which allows us to destroy this, put a target Runeblade, attack action, and Runeblade non-attack action card from our graveyard on top of our deck. However, this does have Arcane Barrier, and in this scenario, we are going against Viscerai, who loves to make rune chants, which are these cards here that deal arcane damage whenever they attack or play an attack action card. So in our arsenal, we have an Enlightened Strike, which has 3 different modes: draw a card, get +2, or go again, as long as we put a card from our hand on the bottom. It does cost 0. We have Force of Nature, which is a 0 cost non-attack action, go again. Allows us to be able to fuse with an Earth card. If we do, our next attack gets +1. And it also reads whenever an attack action card you control hits, if its attack is greater than its base attack, draw a card. Earthlore Surge, an Earth non-attack action card that has go again. That says our next attack action card gets +3. Revel in Runeblood is a non-attack action that has go again, and says if we play an attack action and another non-attack action, create 4 rune chants. They get destroyed at the end of the turn. And then we have Snatch, which is a attack that when it hits, draws a card. Okay, so that was a lot, and this is prime Flesh and Blood. This is the complex Flesh and Blood that you will know and love. Take your time. There's a ton of lines to go through here. Try to figure out the best ones. So pause this video and try to do that. And then we'll go over the lines and see which one is the best. Try to use Fab Math where you can to determine what line gives you the most value. Okay, so let's talk. So one line that we could do is pitching the Force of Nature to play Earthlore Surge. Giving our next attack +2. We still have 1 floating from that. Then we can play E-Strike from our arsenal, bottoming the Snatch to give go again. So we are coming in with E-Strike for 7. So we can add 7. Next, we can play Revel in Runeblood, as we had play a non-attack and attack, so we will create 4 rune chants. With Briar's ability, since this is our second non-attack action, we do create an embodiment of lightning. And we can use our last resource to come in for Rosetta Thorn with 4 rune chance as well. So coming in for 4 plus 4 more because we did play an attack and attack action, so this would come in for 4 points of damage. So we get plus 8. So this line gives us 15 points of value, and we get to have an embodiment of lightning for the next turn. We don't have an arsenal, but we do have all of our equipment and embodiment of lightning. So honestly, not too bad. Let's explore another route. So let's explore another line here. One line we can play Force of Nature, fusing Earthlore Surge to give our next attack action +1 and give all of our attacks actions, if they are greater, they draw us a card. We can then pitch for Grasp of the Arknight to make 1 rune chant here. That would give us 1 resource floating. We can come in with Light and Strike, Bottoming Snatch, giving it go again. This will be for 1 arcane and 6 physical. So this will be for 7. Because the physical damage would let us draw a card, we probably get 2 cards out of our opponent's hand to block so that we don't draw a card, I would imagine. Then we can play Revel in Rune Blood. This will create us 4 more rune chants, as well as make us an embodiment of lightning. Using the last resource, we can come in for another 8 points of damage here. So plus 8. And again, we get 15. The difference here is that we are presenting an on hit this time around. So potentially having the ability to draw a card, but also potentially forcing our opponents to block. Where the other one, maybe they just wanted to race us and they didn't need to block. So a little bit of difference. We got the same value, but a little bit different on like what is being achieved with that line of play. So let's there's more lines, so let's get to it. Let's see what else we can do. Let's go. Force of Nature fused. So we're gonna fuse Force of Nature, give the +1. Then we are going to E-Strike. We're gonna bottom the Earthlore Surge. We're going to choose go again, or sorry, we're going to choose draw a card. So we can just draw any random card here. We're going to keep this face down because truly when we're making these decisions, we don't know what we're going to draw. So we're going to just keep this face down here, but we are using Snapdragons to give this go again. All right, so now again, if this hits, we get to draw another card. So this probably gets blocked, as it is only coming for 6. It can get blocked with 2 tree blocks from their hand. Next, we can choose, depending on what this card is, we can choose the best line of play. If it is a blue card, we can go Grasp of the Arknight, Revel in Rune Blood, and then make an embodiment of lightning and have Snatch with an embodiment of lightning. So it would have go again, and then we can come in with Sword. If it's just a blue card, that would be a potential value of 4 rune chants from this, and then 4 more from this, and then another 4 from this. So the potential value of +12 more. So this was a value of 6 +6, and then we can add +12. Well, it's 18. I can tell you that much. I don't know why it's being weird. Anyway, so this would be an 18 value turn. Depending on what we draw. If this wasn't a blue, maybe this was another red attack. We could come in with that instead. Maybe it comes in for 4 as well. You know, the possibilities are just endless because we just don't know what that card could be. But overall, we can assume that we can get about 18 points of value here. And with that, we deal more damage, more value, right? This would demand an on block as well because it is going to draw us an additional card if it hits, and it would have go again, so we could play that card. So this probably would take some armor or maybe the rest of their hand. And so we get to go again on our turn. We won't have the embodiment. We won't have any rune chance, but they will not come back at us, so we get to keep our full grip without losing any life and send it all over again. That is what we do with this play. The big negative with this play is that we had to use our Snapdragon scalars in order for it to work, which means that that's it. We don't get this back. This gets destroyed. So that is our big play. Now, at this point in the game, it might be a little early. This would give us a tempo, because when you gain tempo is when your opponent can't present as much damage as you are presenting. And in this scenario, they would present 0 as you presented 18. And you got damage through just with the sword and the rune chance alone. So you got a guaranteed 8 damage on them, putting them down 32 as well. So you net 0 as far as taking 8 to present 8, but they also present nothing on their next turn, and now you are going to net positive big. And that is what tempo is. Okay, so that was another line. It does use our equipment, but let's see if we can find some other lines where we're not using our equipment, or we're using our equipment in a different way. Now, let's go Force of Nature again here. We're going to fuse it again, as we would. Force of Nature fuse. We're going to go E-Strike. We're going to bottom the Earthfloor Surge. This time we're going to choose Go again. So we don't have to use our snaps, but we will not draw. Again, this will be for 6, so they will have to block with 2 cards to prevent us from drawing a card. Then we can make a Revel. We can go, which will make us 4 Rune Chance and Embodiment of Lightning. We can, instead of coming in with Sword like we've done before, we can come in with the Snatch, which will have to go again because of the Embodiment of Lightning. So it'll be for 8 damage with Go again. We are hoping that this hits, because if it doesn't, we're not drawing a card and we can't swing the sword. So let's see how much value this turn ended up being. So here we got, let's go 6 plus 4 plus 4. And this is a 14 value turn. Now, this could be more depending on what we draw, if this does hit. But if they block with these cards, then it would not hit. We would only deal 4 damage, so they would be at a higher life. And we don't get anything past that, really. Like, you know, in this way, we take their hand and we get to keep Snapdragon Scalars, but we do deal less damage. We would have the tempo, and we would have Snapdragons. So I kind of like this line a little bit more, but still not my favorite line, if I'm being honest. Let's go and continue to search for that. As you can imagine, this could get fairly intense in a game of Flesh and Blood. There's a lot to think about. The best way to go through these lines is just through repetition. Just practice, 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 and you'll get more familiar. You'll have a more understanding of how your deck works and how you want to approach your opponent. So let's keep going. All right, so we have Force of Nature fusing. Okay, Force of Nature fusing. We're going to E-Strike bottoming the Earthfloor Surge again. We are going to choose Go again. So this will be for 6. Again, we're going to get blocked here. Let's go ahead and add that value. All right. And then we are going to play... sorry, we're not going to play that. We're going to come in with Snatch. We're going to come in for 4. Now, this is an interesting perspective because we don't have an action point. We don't have this Go again, even though I revealed it. We actually don't have this because we did not play 2 attack actions. In this scenario, we plan to arsenal the Revel and Runeblood for the next turn, or for a turn in the future that we can have an even bigger explosion. We also leave it to our opponent to decide if they want to block the Snatch out. Maybe if they only block with 1 card, maybe then I can feel good going Snatch or a Snap on the Snatch, drawing this extra card, then being able to play Revel, making the Embodiment of Lightning, and pitching. Well, I guess technically I would pitch for the Grass of the Arcanite first, make it a Rune Chant, then play Revel, make a Embodiment of Lightning, and come with Sword, and I get to deal all that damage from that turn sequence that we did a while ago. But this time I get to keep an Embodiment of Lightning. I still lose the snaps, but I still have everything. And in this turn, in this line, we get to decide if we want to use snaps. It's not predetermined, right? It's either we use snaps and we play Revel because they allow us to draw a card off Snatch, or they block Snatch out and we arsenal the Revel. I like this quite a bit because this leaves it on our opponent to decide for us. If they choose not to, they choose to let us draw a card, we could choose to keep going. If they choose to block it out, we get to keep the tempo. They would still be at 40 health because they blocked out all the damage, but we do still have an arsenal to set up. So that's the good part about this. Okay. All right, so let's put this in our hand, this one right here. And let's there's still more lines to go through. As you can imagine, this is very, very complex. But that's what makes Flesh and Blood so fun, honestly. Okay. Oh, in that line, we're presenting 10 damage. That line only presents 10 damage because E-Strike for 6, Snatch for 4. Like I said, it could go even wider or more damage depending if we use Snap or not, but that is based on our opponent's decision on how they want to block. Okay, so that presents the least amount of damage, but I actually liked it probably the most so far. Now, let's go with a Force of Nature Fuse. Give the +1. Then we are going to play Snatch. So Snatch for 5, okay? This would probably get 2 cards blocked on it. In this scenario, we would have to Snap Dragons because this would just be for 5 and we took 8, so it would be only a value of -3, which is terrible. So we had to use Snaps, right? So we use Snaps. Then we play Revel in Runeblood. This makes us our 4 Rune Chant tokens. This also makes us a Lightning token. Then we go E-Strike, putting Earthlore Surge on the bottom, choosing +2 so that we can have the on-hit effect of Force of Nature to, if it hits, draw a card. This did come in for 4 Rune Chants, and then this would come in for 7, assuming that they use 2 cards to block here because it is a Snatch for 5, so they would have to use 2 cards to block that. These 2 cards would not be enough if they blocked for 3 each, which on average, that's what cards have a block value of. So they would have to give us a piece of equipment, or we would get to draw a card. And because we played Revel and Force Nature, this does have Go Again. So we do get to draw a card. We do get to come in with Rosetta Thorn, or if it's a 0 attack, we can come in with that. So in total, this is representing 5 damage from the Snatch, 4 from the Revel, 7 from the Enlightened Strike, choosing the +2 mode. So this is a 16 damage right here, with the opportunity to be up to 20 with Rosetta Thorn. This does use the snaps, so again, this would be if we really want to take the tempo, which in this scenario we would be taking tempo. We wouldn't be left with anything left, but we would have a 4-card hand to work with next turn and Tunic on 3. And this could be, yeah, as I mentioned before, potentially 20 damage. So it would have the highest output of damage. All right. Keep it going. It's not over yet. Next, let's play Earthlore Surge. We're going to pitch Force of Nature to do so. So give it our next attack +2. Then let's go Snatch. So now Snatch is coming in for 6. Okay. Again, we're going to take the 2 cards to block it here. And again, we will have to use Snapdragon Scalers. All right. We can Revel to make our embodiment of Lightning and 4 Rune Chants. And then with the 1 resource floating, we can Thorn. Okay, so let's talk about this mode. So this mode, we are representing 6 from Snatch, so 6 plus the 4 damage from the Revel, plus the 4 damage from Thorn, since we played attack and non-attack. So that would be 14 points of value. We get to keep an embodiment of Lightning at E-Strike for the next turn, but we do use up our Snapdragon Scalers. So I don't particularly like this one. just because it does set us up for next turn, which is nice. You know, we can use E-Strike, but I just feel like we're not dealing enough. We didn't take all the cards out of their hand. They could still choose to keep 2 cards and present more damage back to us. We do 8 damage, so we do, you know, get equal amount of life out of it, but we had to use an equipment to do so. So I'm a little less big on this turn. All right, let's talk about maybe the worst line. And don't feel bad if this is the one that you thought of being a good line. There's a ton of stuff to think about, so you know, I wouldn't fault yourself if you thought this was the best line. I just wouldn't agree with it. So let's talk about it. All right, you can choose to E-Strike first. You're gonna bottom the Revel, and you're gonna choose to draw a card. All right, so we draw a card there. All right, so this would be for 5. We do not have that. As you can imagine, we're going to use snaps here so that we can have the go again. And then we can make our decision based on what we draw. All right, so, you know, if we drew a blue card, we can go Force of Nature, Orfleur, fusing with Orfleur Surge, pitching to play Orfleur Surge. And then that will give us an embodiment of lightning, then playing Snatch, which will get plus 3, so this would come in for 7, right? So this would require like 2 cards and probably a piece of armor, and then we can come in with Rosetta Thorn for 8, or for 4 more damage, right? Or well, yeah, for 4 more. So that would be how this turn cycle plays out. Its max efficiency, assuming that this is a blue, then that would be 5 plus 7, because it gets plus 3 from these 2, and then plus 4, which is a total of 16 points of value. We do not get any embodiment of lightnings because we were using it on the Snatch, and we had to use a Snapdragon. So we don't get an arsenal in this scenario, assuming that this is blue. We don't get all the cards out of their hand, and we're actually not even presenting the most damage. So in this scenario, I think we are losing out quite a bit. Again, it is dependent on what we draw, but I would rather do more of a known entity, like a known card, than be based off what we could draw. All right, and then finally, the last one we'll do here is we'll play an Orfleur Surge, pitching the Force of Nature, and then going E-Strike, putting the Revel on bottom. With the E-Strike, we're going to choose Go again, and then we are going to Thorn. And that is just as simple as that. We use up all of our resource. We get to put a Snatch in the arsenal. We're not using Snapdragons, but we do not create an embodiment of lightning either. We're just coming in for 7 plus 4, so that would be 11 points of value right there. Honestly, not the greatest. You know, we took 8, so we're presenting 11, so we really are, you know, getting a value of 3 on that in total. So yeah, maybe not the best. It does allow us to have a Snatch in the arsenal and get to keep Snap, but I think there's better lines. All right, so let's talk about it. When running through these lines, it's important to really determine what is going on in the game. Where are you at in the game? What your opponent is doing? Whether or not your opponent is going to come in with a 4-card hand or a 5-card hand if they have one in arsenal. You know, and what type of player is your opponent? Are they aggro? Are they control? Do they like to set up? Is it going to be a long game? Is it going to be a short game? All these things have to factor in, because as easy as it would be if BAF determined everything, it just really doesn't. You also have to factor in unknown variables, which are card draws, and whether or not you're going to hit. So ultimately, you have to make the best decision for where you're at in the game, and that is what Flesh and Blood is. It's all about adaptability, but math can help us find that line. My favorite line was the line that we had where we put Force of Nature, fusing, and then bottoming it with E-Strike, choosing to go again, and then playing snaps. That's my favorite line for this one, and the reason is because in this scenario, it's on our opponent to decide whether or not we are going. So they probably give us 2 cards here because they don't want us to draw a card, and whether or not we get to draw a card of Snatch or not. This puts a lot of the variables and unknowns on our opponent and not on us. All right. Simple enough. If they block with 2 cards, then we're very happy with that. We get to Arsenal Revel, have tuning on 3 for the next turn, and be just fine. If they give us 1 card and an equipment, then what can they honestly do with 1 card? Maybe just swing the blade, or if they have an Arsenal, come in with the Arsenal. Who knows? But either way, we're gaining tempo here, and we still have our Arsenal. And then, as we mentioned, if they say no blocks, then we get to use our snaps and have a very big turn. So ultimately, this is my favorite line because it takes away some of the variables on our end and puts it more on our opponent's end to decide. All right. Feel free to keep go back and watching this and understanding the lines. It's hard. It's hard. I mean, it's not easy, and this isn't an easy game, but it is such a rewarding game when you can do lines like these at your armory, at your skirmish, at your RTN, at a battle hard or calling Pro Tour Worlds. It's going to help so much. I guarantee that the pros are doing this. And that this is something that is going to increase your skill level.
And there you have it. That is Fab Math. I hope that it has helped you learn something new, or at least see the game through a different perspective. And as mentioned before, it has helped me out an immense amount and has made me a better player. So I hope it does the same for you. If you like this video, or if you like this mat, consider becoming a member. We do give out mats like these on a monthly basis, as well as having member-only videos that are a little bit more on the goofier side, but a lot of fun to watch. So consider becoming a member on our YouTube page. And as for our sponsors, we greatly appreciate your support. That is Metal Fab Tokens and Flesh and Baubles. Thank you very much. Until next time, keep on fabbing.